Alright, 3D design. I'm going to talk to you today and give you some in-depth, detailed instructions on how to do your diorama. So I've already got some of it started, but I'm going to go through every step of the process very quickly here. So this is my background, and you can see that I've already got some magazines glued to the front of it. This is the back, 6 inches across by 8 inches tall. If you want to set it up this way and do your diorama scene the long way, you can do that. I decided to go this way. So here's my scene, and like in a 6 by 8, you might not be able to find a full magazine page that works for your background. So that was the case with me. So what I have here is I cut this mountain range out of a calendar, and then there was a Modern Science magazine that there was this painted texture. So you can see that I kind of collaged that together. So I got 1, 2, 3 pieces here in the sky, and then this mountain range is another piece. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to put this down. I've got a cutting mat right here and my handy X-Acto knife, and I'm going to trim the edge so that this composition is totally 6 by 8, and then I can see how my other pieces are going to fit in this space. So when I glued these magazine pieces down, I used rubber cement. For this assignment, you'll use rubber cement and you'll use regular white glue. So here's my background now. It's cut to the right size. You see there's no extra little flaps on the back. And then what I've also done, what I've set up beforehand, is I've glued some of the elements that I'm going to use for my middle ground and my foreground. I've already got these glued to my leftover yellow cardstock. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut out the sky, but I'm going to use some of the background for my middle ground, and then this is going to be my foreground. Now I still need one more piece, because remember, your foreground or your middle ground has to have 2 separate pieces. So this airplane is going to be a second piece of my middle ground, and it's going to be flying in the sky. So I'm going to glue this down, and let me show you how to. Now you notice that when I cut this out, I didn't follow the edges of the wings. I'm eventually going to, but I'll show you why I didn't in a minute, or you'll see why. So what I'm going to do now is tip this so you can see my workspace, and I've got a scrap magazine page so that I don't get glue all over everything. I'm going to take the rubber cement, and again, this is the airplane that I'm going to have flying across the middle ground. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to brush on rubber cement across the whole thing. So I've got rubber cement all over that. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to glue it down. So while this dries, I'm going to start cutting my middle ground motorcycle guy out. And now this, you can see that I've just put a rough cut on this. Now I'm going to go through and clean up these edges. So now is where I'm using the X-Acto knife a little bit more precisely. So I don't want any of that background, or as little as possible. So I'm gonna now, you see that I'm missing some of these spots, and I'm doing that on purpose, and I'll show you why. Because a lot of times it's easier just to cut bigger chunks and then kind of slowly chunk them out. So I'm gonna leave this. So now I've still got some background here and here. But now that I don't have that big board, I can turn this little piece around a little bit more flexibility in terms of moving this piece around. Now I've got to make a decision. This little thing here, I don't know. I can't tell what this is, so I don't think it's going to be important to have it. Like, it's not like it's a tire that the motorcycle is going to look weird. I don't think people are going to notice this piece is missing unless they're like motorcycle mechanics. So I'm going to kind of modify this image a little bit just to make it easier for me to cut it out. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to modify it so much that it looks weird, like it's missing obvious pieces. So there. Clean up that windshield a little bit. And there we are. So I'm going to get this back piece back by the muffler here. There we go. And you can see as I cut, I'm not really turning the X-Acto blade that much. I'm really mostly turning my paper. So there we have it. A little bit of a weird blue glow around his head. I'm trying to get rid of some of that. Okay. So there we go. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to finish cutting these pieces out, and then when I pick up, I'll show you how to make. I'm going to use this extra piece of my yellow cardstock. I'm going to show you how to make those stilts or those stretcher pieces to make sure that your layers are a 1/2 inch and 1 inch from the background. Alright, so I took a couple minutes, got all my pieces cut out. So again, here's my background. This is, you watched me cut this out. Here's the other two pieces. There's the airplane, and then watch this one. Anyways, so this piece is going to be in the foreground. These two pieces are going to be in the middle ground, and my composition is going to look something like this, but obviously there's going to be more space between these layers. So now we have to do that. We have to make our 1/2 inch stilts. So I've got this leftover piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to measure I'm going to measure 1/2 inch from this edge. There's a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go down a little ways. I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch again. And since I don't have any layers that are going to be, like, nothing is going to, there's middle ground in between my foreground piece. So I don't need, if you have foreground and there's no middle ground to attach it to, I'm showing like you can see that. So like if I wanted this airplane to be part of my foreground, not only would I have to make a 1/2 inch strip, but I would also need to make a 1 inch strip. But in this case, my middle ground is going to be where my airplane lies. Or actually, I should say where my airplane flies. Oh. So I don't need any full 1 inch pieces. So I'm going to cut this 1/2 inch strip. And now I'm going to use this for all of my stilt pieces. So I'll show you. So this is a 1/2 inch from here to here. From here to here is a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to cut a slice of that off. And then, again, like we said in class, I'm going to fold it like a V, like this, and it's going to be, it'll be able to stand like that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use, now this is where we're going to switch to the white glue. Maybe. There it is. Got a lot on there. And then I want to position this so that it's not visible. Right? I don't want this sticking out from under the airplane. So I'm going to do this to all of my pieces. And on the bigger pieces, I might want to do, so for this piece, I might do one here and one here, just for stability. Oops. So I'm going to put this off to the side and let it dry. And again, I'm going to cut 1, 2, and then for this middle ground piece, I might want 1 here and then 2 down here. So I'll cut 3 of those. 1, and then cut this one in half. And again, just kind of fold it. And when I fold these, I want to make sure, here, let me cut. I'll show you what you don't want to do. So when you fold these, you don't want to do something like that where it's crooked, right? So that doesn't, this fold is not straight. You want it to be like this, where the top and the bottom match up perfectly, just like that. So this is no good, this is good. So I'm gonna finish gluing. I'm gonna pause it, and then you can rejoin me in a moment after I have everything glued. So it's been a couple minutes. My white glue is not completely dry, but it's actually dry enough where those pieces are sticking. So the glue is still white, but like I said, it's dry enough where I can start stacking these. And I'm going to glue these the same. So I'm going to put just a dab of white glue on each one of these. And then I'm going to drop it right where it needs to be. Now, I'm not going to glue the rest of these, but just to give you an idea. So the airplane is going to go, maybe I'll have it flying off the edge like that. And then this guy is going to go something like that. Now what I can do, so you see how this guy is kind of drooping a little bit. I could glue another stilt there, or I can just put one there and then I'll glue it down. So I'm adding the glue right now, and I'm not going to put glue on this piece. I'll just use that piece to support it as it dries. And there you have it. And that's the bell. And my prep is over. So good luck, have fun.